Hey everyone, welcome to sort of an intro into Sinead. The reason I've called it that is because if you have followed my work, I like to mention that although when Sinead first passed, or just before she passed, I felt her very strongly around me. No, I think it might have been just as I heard the news she'd just passed. And I would get chills, real, literally chills. And the other day, actually, I was listening to a song, and suddenly it was, oh, Nicola. And then I was like, Sinead as well. And I don't know whether to mention the song because it's about also abuse. Physical abuse, and some people might then just connect it to partners and stuff like that, but it's not about that. It's about the concept of stuff. But they both came through on that song and I wasn't even connecting. And then I didn't want to do a reading because when a soul passes away, they're still depending. This is why I'm doing it for Nicola and Maddie. They can be anchored to the earth, especially if they can't rest. And so it is very easy to tap into them, and that's why I felt it. And now it's been less and less and less. And obviously my energy has also been focused on the other readings, and then when I need to preserve my energy during the day for my clients' energy healing and the readings and the other services that I do. So I actually pulled cards this past 2 days to read on something else, which I'm going to share in a different video. But I kept getting, and then I would go, well, should I read on Sinead? And I kept getting the card that that I'd asked to pull. And just now I was saging, and thank God it's gone out, otherwise it would have been really difficult to breathe. And I asked for 3 cards to show me, shall I go ahead and sort of do this? Although a lot of it is not going to be channeling unless Sinead comes through. It's going to be like an intro. And one of the cards I asked for was the 9 of Wands, and this is because it connects to a certain zodiac signs, not necessarily because of the image. And so as I was saging it with the sage here, you know, getting prepped, and I was thinking, shall I pull cards from this? Shall I do this reading, although I'm prepared to? And I asked for those 3 cards out of a deck of 78, and just something made me look at the bottom, and one of the cards is this 9 of Wands. So it's a particular energy that I called for. So we are going to do that. But first I do want to go into some things, okay? Some of it's astrology, some of it's a chat, and we'll pull some cards and then we'll start to build up on it. It might not be something that's on a weekly basis, and if it's on a weekly basis, it might be next week, or then it might be a few weeks not, and then probably more of a channeling as I connect to it. But I can't be connecting to all different cases. I need time to sit and pass, and I have not sat to sit with Sinead and call her in, so she might come in. I did ask the cards and there was presence there. One thing about this, and in general, that I've been wanting to really mention is there is seriously and this is probably, I shouldn't go into too deep because it's connected, but yet again it's not. There's a serious, and I know in the UK there's a serious lack of a support system for mental health and of relatives of people who have addiction or mental health problems. I think it's not looked upon seriously. I think if you're trying to claim support or claim benefits or get support, but you're not abusing drugs or abusing pain meds, quite clearly it can be seen that you're not all right and you're breaking down, you don't really get the help. And it's the same if you're dealing with a relative who has an addiction, or if you're with someone who has an addiction, or you know someone who has an addiction and you're trying to support them and you're also going through stuff. Some people face abuse through that. There isn't a support system there. It's like you have to reach your final tether, either, you know, commit the suicide, die, or actually be so long gone in drugs of probably losing everything until some support is taken seriously. And I think here we've got, like, I don't know how she was, I'll have to look on it. Obviously there was a period of years where she was very quiet out of the limelight, and then back into the limelight in sort of this last year, but not so much, like not a lot of people would have seen it, but she was blogging, or she was doing certain prints on Facebook. She'd moved to London, and maybe she was back in the news around her son's suicide, which I also don't understand, because that to me is a story that probably I could do a reading on, actually, just asking tarot, because her son Shane was born on the 10th of March, so he was a Pisces, 2004, and was he about 17, 18 when he passed away? He was, I think, in a mental hospital, and he was on suicide watch. But then apparently he went missing, and then they found his body. If you're on suicide watch, how the hell have you got out of a hospital? And so I'm not sure if I heard something that she might have had a court case, and it might have been to do with this. So it could well have been that. This just takes me back to some of the cases of, like, how some of the crime cases of children where, you know, the parents have been involved or know what has happened and are able to keep it held for so long. This would not have been Sinead. His passing was on the 7th of January 2022, and that comes down to a 5. I don't know the astrological, or maybe his body was found on that day, and that the numerology of that is very much around 5. It's around change, it's around conflict, you know, it's like a tension kind of energy. But I don't know how, in terms of the astrology, what it was, what it had, what might have been, and if, you know, if he'd gone missing and then he was found on that day, he might have died prior to that. So, I mean, that's something else. With Sinead, she was a Sag. She was born on the 8th of December 1966. You could calculate that to a master number 33, and I think I mentioned I won't be surprised if she was a 33, or a 6, or you can break down a 33 to a 6. A 6 is very loving, nurturing, family orientated, caring energy, and she passed away on the 26th of the 7th July 2023. So it's not long at all actually to channel her, but we're doing an intro. And that passing, she was 56. 11 is there as the number. And it turns into, the date she passed turns into a master number 22. I watched some of her I watched 2 of her kind of in the last couple of years, maybe what she'd put on Twitter or a video on Facebook, and I was trying to just look at the type of person. I've not really looked into her interviews. What I also wanted to say is, like, it takes a tragedy for people to recognize souls, and so just on that, for me, there's a lesson to share, because as soon as I heard of her passing, and then everyone was on it, and you know, the funeral was beautiful, a lot of supporters. I don't think she felt that. I don't think she felt that, especially in her final years. I think she felt very alone, very unsupported, very probably seeing the world in a certain eyes and feeling a bit isolated from it. But then she did have at certain instances some loving people around her. And again, it goes back to, it shouldn't have to be like a tragedy to appreciate people around you. And some of the stuff I've seen, she'd been crying out for help. It was very clear after her son died, especially, I don't know, in between being really famous and in the quiet years. Now, obviously, she had that famous incident where she stepped on stage and she ripped the picture of the Pope. And she apparently said, I'm ripping a picture of a child, orphan, or something like that, for them to allow her to do it. And that kicked off a lot of controversy and, you know, sort of boos. Now, what she was bringing to light was way ahead. Was it 1990? Was way ahead of her time, way ahead of where we were. And that's why it was. Like, now if it's done, you'd probably get those that love the Pope, are very religious, confirmative, or even part of certain circles that apparently, which is probably what Sinead was bringing to light, have the mask of the religion or the Pope, but are actually doing other stuff. But it wouldn't have been, it'd be like on the news, and then it would be, that's it. But at that time, it would have been something really, 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 really shocking. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people had said that, you know, there was, you know, sort of the stupidity of devil energy in this woman, you know, to be doing that. You know, this is about religion, it's about Christ, it's about Christ is the light, and she's ripping a Pope up, but she was doing it for what she'd seen. Now, it was very clear that she was abused by her mother, and I didn't really quite understand how bad until I actually looked into I think she did an interview with Dr. Phil. I haven't watched it all, I watched a bit of clips. What I found interesting on that is that when today I was looking at like a couple of the interviews she'd done recently before passing, she was like, this is, you know, I'm not dying, but I'm not living. I just want to go and be with my mother. And I found that really strange because her mother was horrific to her and should not yet pass to go through a journey to see or connect with her mother to see if her mother had changed or, you know, had called for her forgiveness, etc. So I found that, I still find that really, really strange, and I might ask the cards. When I've looked at her astrology, now her mother was definitely a narcissist. Now with narcissist, it can be passed down. Narcissism can be passed down, okay? So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how that goes. So she was a Sagittarius sun, and her south node was in Scorpio with Neptune conjunct Mercury. Which means a big sort of look into occult, the death and rebirth, hidden aspects of what we don't talk about. Like at that time it would have been, you know, sex and occults and stuff like that, hidden stuff. And with Neptune conjunct Mercury, this is deception and manipulative energy. Now, in her past life, there's two sorts of past lives, and I'm going to go into them, but one of her past lives could have been very similar, not quite what she maybe entered in this lifetime, because I believe she entered into a kind of a well-off family. Now, in her past lifetime, it would have been an asylum area where she was actually a woman that was a victim of male abuse, possibly rape, and fell pregnant. And at that time, you get put into a woman's care home. Now, what's very similar is that I believe at the age of 13, she was sent to a woman's behavioral school for not, the kids, or for this it was females that are not confirming to behaving in the right way for whatever reason. That's not very clear if that was warranted it. Probably not just being abiding to what she's, being told to do or whatever it is. Very similar. And also next to the place where she was sent the school for, behaviours, there was actually, I believe, is it Magdalene Laundrettes, and that was for women of like asylum, or where did I note it? On my phone, because as I'm going around when I get stuff, I'll sometimes note it on my phone. Yeah, I have. Yeah, Magdalene Laundries, which is, a fallen girl's women were put in life of servitude by the courts, family, or by men left there, worked for free, taking care of the babies of unwed women, mothers and laundry to wash the sins away. At 14, Sinead was put in a care home for girls next to Magdalene Laundry. And, you know, they were told, the girls that were put in this care home, that they were so bad, so terrible, that they didn't actually deserve to live near this Magdalene Laundry, which had nuns running it. So can you imagine from such a young age what you're getting told already? And we know that she was part of the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church at that time was a very powerful institution, and it was the control of the masses in Europe, even economic and political. It owned 1 3/4 of all land in Europe, and the Pope had the authority over like the kings of Europe. I'm talking many, many years ago, but then it is still in line. And I'm not sure if it was 1990, I've got it down where it started, 96 or 99, where it started releasing as much power it had within sort of society. And obviously the thought around that was, the quote was, "We are the caretakers of your soul, theocracy, church doctrine made the Lord's." So that's what the Catholic Church, and then when she was, I believe when she was christened, or her first commune, Sinead, you know, and I'll insert a picture. It was her first commune, and it was, "I loved the Catholic Church. That was the contract I made with the Holy Spirit. I believed it all," on her first commune. So, you know, she had, you know, a religious upbringing. But going back to one of her past lives, and I'm going to get into the past life that she would have been trying to heal to her North Node as well. And there's a reason why I head into this, and there's probably going to be actually a part 2 coming up a lot sooner, because I've got so much to talk about. Seeing as we're not just channeling and tapping into cards, but I think it helps also then connect to spirit and call spirit in. She would have felt victim of a male who raped her, probably a male that was from a high class, and at that time you don't shame families. Okay, and so it was kind of like, I think the family would have been a powerful family. She was born into a well-known, well-off family, similar to what she was when she was on Earth. And it would have been a victim of like violence, or like I said, RAPE in the community. And she had to make a decision on whether to save this person's reputation and their family's reputation, and go to a care home. But if you think about it, she wouldn't have had a decision. She would have been manipulated and shamed, and it would have been imposed on her. It wouldn't have been a decision. Which means that she actually did something to save his reputation. And he told her, "I'll be back for you," and stuff like that. And she would wait with hope at this care home where she had the child as well, or she didn't have the child. Probably at that time, I think, lost her child to adoption. So the child's gone to adoption. And if you see the synchronicities, But again, a lot might come through cards and actually channeling. Sinead, I'm going on astrology and what I've been tapping into. But she was actually left in the care home until she died on this false hope, and obviously silenced, and even losing her baby to the nuns for adoption, where she had this fantasy promise that this person's going to come back to her. She'd lost her voice through having to make that decision, where she didn't have a decision. It was manipulation and shame in that time. You had to save, you know, family's reputation. I mean, if we look at some of the cases that I'm covering, one of them, the family is so focused on their reputation as opposed to the child. You might know who I'm talking about. I actually want to make a note there because I'm doing a video after this and I want to write a note. Feeling powerless and in the end just, you know, coming to death. And shame that she wouldn't have been able to save her child as well, and it was taken from her. Her sun being in Sagittarius is obviously her consciousness and the ability to transmute healing and trauma. And like I said, the Catholic Church were promising, or their messaging was the caretaker of the soul, all right? That's the first bit of astrology. I think I just want to pull a couple of cards and then I'm going to probably wrap this one up so that we can go into the next one. So I didn't really ask a question, it was just more or less tell me what, you know, what you want to be said. We've got the King of Wands and the Chariot. Very good cards. Cards about having the drive, the passion in life, moving forward, knowing you can be confident and overcome everything in life, okay? It's fire energy. It's not exactly Sag's energy, but it's part of Sag's energy because each card has a distinct zodiac sign. But if we look at it collectively, it's Aries, Leo, Sag, and then the Chariot moving forward and success. And I think this is telling me about an overview of her very, very bird's eye view of her, kind of a bit of her life. Then there was some form of betrayal, something that really, really hurt her, something that is really, really painful, you know, it's like I can't take it no more, it's It's the Ten of Swords. It's like you've been through anxiety, depression. You don't have any more swords to have in your back, and you're at your last witted ends, okay? You just feel like you are totally tapped out, you're totally hurt, you're totally stabbed in the back, okay? After this, it's a dawn that breaks. With the Seven of Wands, it's about just facing always conflict and needing to kind of protect yourself. There's another word, competition. Also, it can mean like grounding and being vulnerable as well. I would say that sometimes you might want to have your guard down on this. Past life, inner child, healing, you know, I think there was a need to always try to feeling the vulnerability of the inner child, but always trying to protect oneself from the external world and what she was feeling inside of herself and her loved ones, as well as like her past childhood wounds that also often affected how she felt towards life. It blinded her, feeling victimized, but not only that, just kind of stuck. And with the blindfold, I feel like it's sort of getting called to look at the image on another tarot deck, so I will do in a minute. It's from your past experiences that have left you blindsided, that come even from your past and your inner child wounds, where you were really betrayed and left to fight, feeling like you were always fighting. But at some stage, this might have been when her career was gone, she was kind of like, you know, felt she was moving forward. There was still that, there was a heavy betrayment that came in the middle, but that there was still also past that was coming up, home life that was coming up, making her feel like she was bound to it, making her see life in a certain way. Where's that deck? I can't even imagine, I can't even remember what it looked like. What do you want to say? This is the bottom of the deck, so that's like mental clarity that actually comes in. I think I didn't write her full chart because I was going to put my laptop on, which I will do later, because I was going to go through her moon sign as well, so I'll do that in the next one. I've made it. And actually, that's, if you go on my community page where I was like, who am I working on next? That's her human chart and her astrology. No one answered. It's still on the community page, but yeah, that's who I was working on. We're looking for the Eight of Swords. I think some of this is also, you know, there's a lot of tarot readers that just pull cards, but I can't do that while I'm dealing with spirit, you know. I need to make sure that I'm comfortable with what I'm tapping into. I'm not just pulling cards and not feeling it connected. Nine of Swords. Eight of Swords, yeah, look. Just feeling really, really bound around everything that's around her, but also not necessarily seeing clearly from a clear sighted, because you're fogged from your past, from things that have happened, you know, that have caused you that sort of held back energy. But I think some mental clarity has maybe is coming through to her now as she goes through her healing journey. I do want to ask a question, but about her passing, and I think I will do, but I don't know if it's a bit too early. I can say that I think her converting to Islam, I think her name was, she changed her name to Shuhada Sadaqat. Hopefully I've said that right. Very powerful, strong name. So, you know, there's kind of like, it's probably like someone changing their name to, not quite Jesus, but maybe Christ or something, you know. Very, very powerful. And I think that might have helped the media not get so into the speculation and everything around her death. I think it was held very, very well around the privacy of her death and giving her that privacy. I think that was really, really held very well. And the cause of death being kept under wraps. And I think some of that comes down to her conversion to Islam, of that privacy needed to be respected, and if not, at least people are like wary that, are we okay to do this, you know. Some people see Islam in a very negative way, so it has you know, not a fear base, but like an awareness around it, like what do we do now? She's dead, but she's a Muslim. Are we allowed to talk? Are we allowed to do tests? Are we allowed to put it in the papers? You know what I mean? So that sort of stuff. And I'm pulling cards and I don't even know what I'm pulling for, because in some essence I want to ask about her death, but I don't think I'm torn that the cards are going to show me something, but I might be, let's see. If I feel it's a time to share, can you show me, because I want a strong channel with her, can you show me the death, please? I've got the Magician, I've got the Two of Wands, Three of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune. And I know how to interpret this, but I just want to be very cautious, and that's why once I will connect and channel, then I will mention, and this does not mean that it was suicide, this does not mean that someone did it behind her back, or, you know, that it's murder. No, it's just that I'm very cautious on what I let out in terms of, you know, a soul and respecting souls, and you know that I'm very conscious of that. I'll give you an example of like where I mentioned about maybe religion helped keep it under wraps. If you remember Muhammad al-Fayed's death, which was on the 30th or 31st, but we didn't know until the 5th or 4th or 5th of September, and I think that was after his funeral, or on the day of his funeral, that his death wasn't announced. They did the funeral and then they announced his death. They kept it very much under wraps until, you know, the privacy and everything needed. And I still feel that he had I feel the heaviness. I feel like although it's many years, he was 94 years old, you know, he didn't die young. I do feel that there's still a broken heart there, and I can feel it. So with Sinead, I just want to feel very confident, but there is something in my gut just holding me that either I need to just continue with the reading, or what do you call it, just there's the Five of Pentacles on the bottom, which doesn't surprise me. It's the left out, feeling very isolated, which she did. I believe she did feel very isolated and very alone. I wonder if there was some questions around, you know, her money, whether she felt like her money was becoming an issue, you know. Although I know she was getting back to music, I believe. See any additional messages. Feel loved and proud, Nav. 1 and 9 is a 10. Commune with Source. 1 and 7 is an 8. For doable, the key is within your grasp. I feel like the key within your grasp is also to do with the Eight of Swords that I was seeing, a little bit of like, actually it's you that's not able to see clearly, probably because of your past and something. But I want to read a little bit from 1 and 9 for you before I channel into that. Because I feel like it's about feeling loved and proud by the love that you receive and you have around you. Just feeling really loved and cherished and appreciated by the people around you. And I think the message here is make sure you do that for your loved ones. Make sure that you check on them. Make sure that it doesn't have to come to a death or something tragic. Like I started the reading, I feel like she's coming through with this message as well. The maiden holds the bird. It is its head raised in confident pride. In a crystal nest, her loving hands neither grasp nor yielding, a perfect balance of nourishing freedom. Rich hose of blue in her crown, in her gown, suffuse and anchor the energy of love and a deep sense of unconditional support. Whatever happens in the day-to-day ebb and flow of physical existence by virtue of your birth, you are loved, you are supported, you are wanted, you are part of the universal expression of life, its greatest accomplishment, its greatest pride, its greatest joy. Feel proud of the fact that you are a living miracle. Sing your song. The card represents the pride you feel from being loved. No matter what, you are cherished. So it is more or less what I stated. What a beautiful card. Because in the next part, you're going to see what where I said she, in her past life, she lost her voice, not able to speak on the truth. And I was going further into her astrology, but perfectly wraps up to, how we saw her feeling towards the later years. Probably a message for her son, probably a message of, where she maybe didn't feel this at the time of a lot of her years, maybe due to her, upbringing and a parent, probably both parents, and then 1 and 7, because I feel like she might have very strong psychic abilities. Sagittarius is prophecy, but I think she's got Neptune and conjunct Mercury is that. there's deception and manipulation, but they're a very dreamy state. And I think as we go, a north node or south node in Scorpio is about, you know, the hidden aspects, and to a certain extent you need that intuition, that sort of psychic ability. And I think she might have been quite psychic. I think as we go along in her astrology, I'm sure that I'm going to see, you know, next time I'm going to get the chart that I created up, where she was ahead of her time in what she was seeing. Like we saw with the Pope and the religious, we're seeing that breakdown now of like child sex trafficking, abuse, etc. But that was not very much at the forefront, and it was very much hidden. And with this minimus commune with source, I think it's really about really being connected to source divine. Obviously, she changed religion, so being connected to the universe, being connected to God, being grounded, and if you've been feeling quite isolated or in solitude, it's time to connect to God, connect to nature, to feel recharged and supported, because maybe the external world is not giving you that. Minimus dips her fingers into the well of the universal inspiration. This is the card of meditation. Flip interpretation. Is she retreating or emerging? It's time to emerge from the dark forest into the sunlight. Share your radiance. During a time of intense activity or visibility, it's time to retreat to the shadows. So depending where you are, just either if you're too chaotic in the external, come back, connect to source and nature. If you're in solitude, connect to source and nature, trust in that, but get out there. Nature holds all your answers. The wisest witch knows your questions will be answered when she dives into the natural world without reservation. It is your time to merge with source. Drop your stuff, your attachments, be one with nature. And then doable, I think we got doable in one of my the cases that I'm doing. And it's really about the answers you seek are within you. Go within you. Don't give your power to others. And I feel like it's connecting very much to, you know, what Sinead, I feel like these messages are from Sinead. These are coming through from Sinead herself. You belong to paradise. 2 and 4, 6, her life path. So this is about, don't let yourself be imprisoned. I don't know why I still got the book open. I was going to read you a part, but don't let yourself be imprisoned by fear, by attachments, by other things. Know that it's within your reach. It's within you. Do you need to go into, very much like this, do you need to go into solitude and connect to source? Do you need to remember you're loved and you're cherished? You might not be feeling that because people aren't showing it. And at the end of the day, you belong to paradise. 2 and 4 is a 6. I want to read to you actually this, because there's a beautiful element to it. It's about trusting yourself and trusting the beauty within you, and again, you don't need the external. It's very difficult not to allow the external in your past to make you feel diminished from who you are. And I think she'd faced that. You know, what I mentioned, she got told, being sent to the girls' home, of, you know, what was it? You girls are actually really, really bad. You don't deserve to live next door to the Magdalene laundry that was run by nuns, which was for women who were apparently in society seen as probably not conforming because they had kids and they had to do laundry to show that they're washing their sins, etc. And I think it's about self-love and knowing, again, there's unconditional love here to explore. When we talk about Sinead, it's about, I want to say, divinity of your soul, Sinead, that you might have felt the third 3D world was tough. But the number 6 tells me that you should be feeling loved and safe and lifted, feeling more in a paradise state as opposed to where you was, if the pain has been elevated. And so with this card, if we connect it to now, it's talking about, remember your essence of love. Remember that you need to see the paradise within you, even if people are trying to diminish you or whatever's happening. Without like kind of fighting your soul, fighting yourself. Allow yourself to flourish into who you are. Let's read. I keep channeling more and more what I want to say. Trust your innate goodness and expect the best. That is what is attracted to you in this time. It's time to relax and enjoy your blossoming. Self-love is a popular term and is always worth exploring. Self-love is even more gratifying to explore. The girl of Paradisical has stopped fighting herself. The sweetly scented white petals framing her face are her surrender flags. She finally just loves herself and accepts her innate goodness and beauty. Now it's time to do the same. Heaven truly is on earth in your arms, in your life. Hug yourself and enjoy your own bliss. And I would say, like, in the 3D world, this is a sign of, you know, gifts coming towards you and blossoming, improvements to help you feel a bit more comfort in life, and in a state of ease and joy as well. That is going to help you come into happiness. So that's what I have for you as an intro into Sinead O'Connor. Beautiful message that came in the end as well. Very much ties in with how I started the reading. And I'm going to see you in our next reading. Take care and bye for now.